that there are other priesthood keys that have not been given to man on the earth, including the keys of creation and resurrection.
This is an occasion of great significance for members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints throughout the world. Dating from October 10th, 1880, when John Taylor was sustained to succeed Brigham Young as prophet, seer, and revelator, and president of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.
When I go to a stake conference, I always like to shake hands with as many as I can. And I go approximately an hour before the meeting begins, and in an hour I can shake hands with 300 to 500 people, and I think I did that this morning. And that serves two purposes. For me, it gives me the chance to look into the faces of the people and to feel their spirit, and that helps me speak to them later. It narrows the distance between us to meet them personally, old and young. The second purpose is my conviction that in a few weeks they won't remember anything that I said. There might be one person that was struck with something and would remember it, but for the most part they won't remember anything that I said. But if they shook hands with a person who holds the office of an apostle, they'll remember that all their life, and it will be a strength and an inspiration to them, not because of me, but because of the office that I hold. We should also be cautious about the motivation of the one who provides information. That's why the scriptures warn us against priestcraft.
Tithe paying is evidence that we accept the law of sacrifice. It also prepares us for the law of consecration and the other higher laws of the celestial kingdom.
And young women, please understand that if you dress immodestly, you are magnifying this problem by becoming pornography.
Tell them where to start, and I'll try to manage a smile. My wife tells me I always look like a judge instead of an apostle.
Travis Wayne Goodsall. What makes a man a legitimate prophet? If a man came among you and he claimed to be a prophet, how can you judge him as true or false? That is the one major thing in life that is essential for people to know and understand. Because it's not just for being a prophet. People are put into positions of authority or claim to be a person in a position of authority. So the question that we have is, are they true or are they false? How can we know the truth? And unfortunately, since the creation of Christianity, with Jesus being Trinitarian, it is impossible for mankind to experience in the flesh Jesus Christ, despite the contradiction that they claim that the Roman period scriptures of the Jews are literal history, and therefore the humans during the Roman period time literally, physically experienced Jesus, except for the author of John. The Word is God. You didn't know that that was changed by the first creed of Christianity? Oops. Somebody lied to you. But yeah, that was among the debates at that Nicene Council. Is what is the nature and character of the Christ that was designated to be named Jesus? And so the Jews have lots of different scripture, and they have lots of different names for their Christ, even though they all knew that their Christ's name is Emmanuel, Messiah ben David. And so, to focus on the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, there are qualifications that are necessary to establish a person as a prophet, the presiding high priest. Just like with any other business, any other field, government, or other religions, a person has to have credentials from accomplishments that designate the person as an authority. You can't say, well, I like this particular social media person. My truth says he's true. That doesn't hold any water for legitimate people. And in fact, social media has produced a bunch of non-authority persons claiming to be authority, and people going around spreading the words of these not authoritative persons as if they are authoritative and true. And so the spreading of lies and misinformation and disinformation permeate our culture now. But Joseph Smith told us exactly how to know a false prophet from a true prophet. Section 107, 91 and 92. Again, the duty of the president of the office of the high priesthood. That was Joseph Smith. So he's about to tell you his credentials, his accomplishments. Is to preside over the whole church. And so only the president of the office of the high priesthood is in charge over the whole church. No counselors, They don't preside, they counsel the president. They do not have authority. 12 apostles, they're not listed here, are they? They have no authority over the administration of the church. Only the president of the office of the high priesthood. Is this too complicated? Do I need to speak slower? We're going right to the source. Joseph Smith. We are not branching off to other people who claim to be authorities and use them as the authority. Right here, for Mormonism, Joseph Smith is our founder. Joseph Smith made this statement about authority. No other authority, source, or claim to authority counts. This right here is where you start. We get our answer. We don't need to go to anywhere else. And so here is his accomplishment. And to be like unto Moses. There should have been a footnote to Deuteronomy 18, verse 15. There isn't. Footnotes are not authoritative. Just because there is no footnote to Deuteronomy 18, verse 15, does not give anybody the right to claim that therefore Joseph Smith does not mean Deuteronomy 18, verse 15. Because the footnotes are not a source of authority. It needs to be referenced to Deuteronomy 18, verse 15. And so now the big bombshell that will burst all Mormon faith bubbles is the question, are Jews Christians? Are Christians Jews? The answer is no. Christians are not the authority on the Jewish religion. Neither are Jews. The scriptures of the Jews are the primary source for the religion of the Jews. And therefore you cannot use any other claim to authority of the interpretation of the Jewish scriptures, except for the words of the Jewish authors of the Jewish scriptures. Now, Joseph Smith has also let us know that there's been mistranslation of the Jewish scriptures. There have been redefining of words, as we see that the Christians tampered with. And one of those is resurrection. But then we see some additional information for the qualifications and accomplishments. As we learn that Joseph Smith has as his keystone scripture the Book of Mormon. And so we do not listen to any other source claiming to be authority when the Book of Mormon itself is the primary source authority. The Book of Mormon itself says it is the religion of 1 Nephi chapter 1, verse 2 and 4. The pre-Babylonian captivity Jewish Egyptians. It is not literal history. You just pulled an anachronism affirming the legitimacy of the first creed of Christianity to be imposed on the Book of Mormon. That is a naughty no-no. The pre-Babylonian captivity Jewish Egyptians are not Christian. They are not modern Jews either. You cannot say that you can impose another authority onto the interpretation of the Book of Mormon. other than pre-Babylonian captivity Jewish Egyptians. You are wrong, and you become a racist bigot. And if you're a Mormon, you deny the Book of Mormon as pre-Babylonian captivity Jewish Egyptian. You then deny Joseph Smith as the man like Moses, to be the head of the church, as the presiding high priest, who also will demonstrate the gifts of, demonstrate, not claim titles of, demonstrate with accomplishments, seer, revelator, translator, and prophet. This is the test you run. Brigham Young fails. John Taylor fails. I don't know them all by memorization. We can see how far I go. It'll probably... Wilford Woodruff fails. Lorenzo Snow fails. Joseph Fielding Smith Sr. fails. Heber J. Grant fails. George Albert Smith fails. David O. McKay fails. Joseph Fielding Smith Jr. fails. Harold B. Lee fails. Am I missing somebody in there? If I'm missing somebody, it would be in there. They may be out of order too. Spencer W. Kimball fails. Ezra Taft Benson fails. Gordon B. Hinckley fails. Forgot Howard W. Hunter fails. Thomas S. Monson fails. Russell Marion Marcus Nelson fails. You have to watch the previous video this morning. And so therefore, Oakes, Nelson is dead apparently. They're not telling us, keeping it a secret. Shh. Run the test on Oakes. He does not get to be the president of the church because he's the president of the 12. Again, you're trusting outside claims of authority rather than the source with Joseph Smith. In verse 22, he tells you how to succeed as president after he is dead. There was supposed to be a priesthood conclave meeting and a vote. That never happened. And so, because it never happened, Joseph's church is gone. It's dead and needs to be resurrected from the grave, using Joseph Smith's death as the symbol for the death of his religion. And so when Oakes gave his little 4+ minute thing this morning, pre-recorded, he lied. He said we're Christian. Jesus is our Christ. Non-Trinitarian rather than Trinitarian. Everything else of the first creed of Christianity is true. Just the nature and character. And so it's not the word of John. That may be difficult for many people to understand, that concept of how the Word is God as Spirit. And so, when you know the learning of the Jews concerning the Jewish Christs, you then learn about Messiah ben Joseph. 2 Nephi chapter 3. It's Joseph Smith Jr. But, as the video I did yesterday from the person who commented, Paul Simmons, he is still trying to merge the claims of authority of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints with the Book of Mormon and its Jewishness, pre-Babylonian captivity, Jewish Egyptian. And you can't do that. Paul is not an authority. You are supposed to study the scriptures and use what the authors tell you as authoritative for the interpretation. You cannot impose another interpretation. That's the wrong authority. It has no authority. Even Oakes had given a talk previously about authority, saying that you can't trust people who are not specific authorities of the specific field. And he goes on to explain that those who practice priestcraft cannot be trusted as authoritative because they have ulterior motives to deceive and steal your money. We gotta put that clip in before it's just, how do people miss this? How? And if you're watching and you're a Mormon and you don't understand and you're getting angry, you can't attack the church. Yes, I can. Judge me by my accomplishments. Fruits. You're not doing it. You refuse to do it. You're scared to do it. I am the authority, but we're not talking about me. And so, some things that I noticed in his video that we'll end with is his comment about, my wife tells me I look like a judge. Nelson's on his deathbed if he's not dead and they're keeping it a secret from us. Which means Oakes is next. What do we call the president of the office of the high priesthood to Mormons? He's the judge of the house of Israel. Now do you see why he put it in? He's preparing you in a coming day to officially be the new president of the church. And so, because we know he's now false, everything he says is a lie. And you can now identify what those lies are because you now know the truth. Right? Ran the test. He trusted authorities, not those claiming to be authority, altering the authoritative documents. And so he said Christmas, for the majority, is a retail season. What did he do wrong? What did he say wrong? Christmas is a retail time of the year because people buy gifts to give to others. That's what he left out. He's trying to blame and shame people for gift giving, charity. That was an exceedingly abusive thing to say, because not everybody is Christian. So the United States of America has Christmas, even though it's called after the Christian name for the Catholic Mass, but have designated it more expansively to be inclusive of those who are not Christians, so that they too can think of the bigger picture of the meaning of Christmas as being kind and charitable to your neighbors. That is the true meaning of Christmas for the United States of America. But we have Christians who want to make it exclusive and take away the agency of others to force them to be Christian, like the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And so he says that the resurrection is not understood and is only understood correctly by him, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. That all the other Christian denominations have a difference of opinion. He diminishes them. But the first creed of Christianity is the authoritative source for Christians' redefining of resurrection, which is exactly the same as the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, except for the nature and character of Jesus. And he's not addressing that, which is wrong. So, let me quickly bring this up. Most likely have to adjust it. Yeah. Microsoft. Didn't you learn from Bill Maher's episode the other Friday? I hear you. I hear you. Trying to resurrect Joseph Smith's church from the grave. Remember, I'm the authority. And so, here it is. For us, men, and for our salvation, came down and was incarnate and was made man. He suffered, and the third day he rose again. That's the Christian concept of resurrection. He did not mention ascension. I told you to watch out for that, didn't I? He never said ascended. And from thence he shall come to judge the quick and the dead. And so yes, it doesn't expand upon what happens to mankind after we die, but he does judge those who do die, which suggests that there is some kind of essence or substance of man upon death. Constantine in that first creed just doesn't explain it. And so other papal bulls came about, and other claims and scholars and blah blah blah, opinions of non-authoritative sources, because they all ignore Hanuzion, not real. And so what Oakes did was kind of abusive, as he has no authority as a judge in Israel. He's a false prophet, a false judge, a false leader of the church. He has no authority, no right to take over. So he is now then telling people to spread the lie by establishing Easter traditions. False traditions are what help alter the interpretation of Scripture. When you have a tradition for so long, you tend to ignore the Word. You know, like a succession for the President of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. You tend to ignore verse 22 of section 107. Because the tradition is not in harmony with the source origin. And so that's what he's doing. He's telling you to make Easter traditions in accordance with his false doctrine as a false prophet, and not judge him by his failed, corrupt fruits. And then he also emphasized the other portion of that is to teach the false doctrine of the false resurrection to others. And so the Easter traditions for your family and your posterity after you to be indoctrinated into the lie, and then to go around and force this lie on others to get them to be suckers and losers to believe it, just like the missionary program. This is what cult groups do to brainwash and indoctrinate. And there he was doing it as a false prophet. And one final thing to pay attention to, he's got a twitch. He's taking drugs, causing the twitch. He's helping support Big Pharma with drugs, causing a twitch. And I say this in the name, my name,